Hi there, students. Peroration. Peroration. A noun, a countable noun, quite a formal one. Okay, peroration we use in two slightly different ways. Firstly, the peroration is the summing up of a speech. This is where you get to the end of your speech and you repeat the main points and you try and enthuse your audience. So I think any good teacher should have a peroration towards the end of their class where they've taught what they're going to teach and then they go through the main points again and explain them and try to animate the listeners. So during the peroration of his speech, he was extremely enthusiastic and extremely energetic. Okay, so the peroration, during the peroration of his speech, he used several buzzwords and several phrases that were designed to stick in people's mind. And then you can also use this peroration to talk about a really long speech it's very long and maybe it's a bit too serious, or perhaps a statement or an answer as well. So I think if a teacher goes into a long peroration, what normally happens is the students fall asleep. And I don't think long perorations are good for classes, except when there are so many people, there is no other way. So he delivered a 4.5 hour peroration while everybody went to sleep. During his peroration of his speech, he used several of the current slogans. The priest in the pulpit delivers his sermon, which is normally a long peroration. So to perorate as a verb, to conclude your speech by repeating the main points, or to perorate, to speak at great length, normally in a very bombastic way. Okay, so to perorate, it's the end of a speech where you sum up all of everything you've said and you try and animate your listeners. So we had to listen to a peroration, long boring speech on the evils of alcohol. Okay, so he summarized his main points in his peroration. The peroration was a summary of all the research that had been done. So he'd finished the first 6 parts of his speech, and the 7th part was a peroration recapping what he had done. It can also be written. Besides the introduction and peroration, the beginning and the end, there were 10 chapters in the article. The last chapter is further analysis and peroration of the topic. So perorate or peroration, the conclusion, or just a speech. So a peroration, the last part where you sum up, is a pretty formal word, formality. Perorate, peroration. 8.5, something like that. If somebody describes a speech as a peroration. It was boring. They think it was long and it wasn't worth listening to. I'm not going to listen to another of his perorations. But in rhetoric, the peroration is the conclusion of a speech which sums everything up and gives emphasis to it. It's something to wind people up, to get them to be interested in it. It's the concluding part when you're trying to urge people to be interested in it. Okay, so the peroration, the concluding part, or a really long, boring speech. Let's see, peroration. This comes from Latin, peroro, per, very, and oro, to speak. Or oration. So the idea of this is speaking a lot. It's speaking too much. Per oratio. Yeah, the concluding part, where you're trying to inspire and enthuse the audience. He repeated the theme in an emotional peroration at the end of his speech. Yeah, we sat through a lengthy peroration about the evils of the government that were in power. She gave an eloquent peroration about the nation's tradition of religious tolerance and pluralism. Okay, so a peroration, yeah, there's something that goes on that is long and boring, or a summary at the end. So peroration, perorate.